What is the IIM Lucknow IPMX program? Joining us for a candid discussion about the full-time one-year MBA at IIM Lucknow, the IPMX program today are Mr. Madhushankar and Mr. Suhas. Let's hear about their experience of the IIM Lucknow IPMX program, the campus life, the subjects they learn. So I think you are now towards the closing of your first term at IIM Lucknow, the IPMX program. And it's nice to have you here for discussing what the program is about and learning about the in-class and the program experience as such. So we'd like to hear about your background and your experience.
And yeah, so I come from an automotive or mechanical engineering background. So I did my undergrad in India back in 2012, and then I worked in India for a year in an aerospace company in mechanical engineering purview, and then I moved to the US for my master's again in mechanical engineering for a couple of years, and then after that I worked there for around 8.5 years before moving back for my MBA. And in that 8.5 years, I was mostly in a tank trailer industry for 1 year, and rest all was in automotive sector with one company called Forvia.
And what about you, Mr. Madhushankar?
Yeah, I also have similar levels of work experience as Suhas here. I finished my undergrad in 2008, after which I worked for a couple of years in mechanical engineering. After which I did postgrad in industrial engineering, and I worked as a management consultant for about a year and a half in Hyderabad. Then I joined the public sector as a banker, and I have been with SBI for the last 8.5 years. And after that, I moved to IIM Lucknow for this 1 year IPMX program.
So the first question is around, enlighten us on what the program structure is all about. How is the next 1 year looking going forward for you? How is it planned?
The first word that comes to mind to answer this question is hectic, because this is in essence a 2 year program compressed very heavily into 10.5 months. So everything is very fast paced, everything is vigorous, and the level of intensity or the level of academic, I would say, pedigree is the same. It's just that you get less time to do everything. That's the main thing. Otherwise, it is highly engaging. The professors, the course, the subjects, the content, the assignments, everything makes us all think a lot, and it's one of the best programs out there.
Just to add a couple of points, I think the structure is kind of done in a very thoughtful fashion. Like starting term 1 and term 2 are like more core courses oriented. So where they build a lot of, I would say, basics, because people come from very different backgrounds. So they build the basics very strong, and then they let us choose some electives of our choice and let us shape how we want to. And also, I think to add to a point of the academic rigor, I think there are a couple of aspects. Or the intention of that being is they want us to, because we come from a certain level of experience, so they want us to be competent to handle the pressure, workload, and that level of uncertainty in our roles in the days to come ahead. So that is their, I would say, intention of keeping the course this way.
What are the courses that you have to go through? Are these the core courses and fixed courses?
So we do not get any options to choose in term 1. We have a subject from finance, we have subject from operations, we have a subject from organizational behavior, we have a subject in international business communication, we have a subject in quantitative analysis, like in business math, and yeah, a couple of other courses. So it pretty much touches a little bit of everything. And in term 2, it builds on that. So we have like second level courses of those where we just go a little more deeper, a little more advanced versions of that. And then we build a pretty strong base, and then we carry it forward from there.
Yes, so the term 1, or let's say any of these terms, would have around 6 or 7 subjects in all.
And the second term has 9. Suhas, I think, has missed out one of the most intense subjects, which is microeconomics, which gave most of us sleepless nights here. Term 2 is taking it to the next level of macroeconomics. And also marketing has been added to this mix, where we're moving from a more theoretical base to more case study based work from term one to term two. But term two, the intensity level is like, the volume is taken up a notch. We start directly with the cases instead of being taught the frameworks first.
What are the very or the most innovative or the unique teaching methodologies that you have encountered at your IIM Lucknow, the IPMX program experience, knowing that you already have a master's, both of you have already completed your master's?
So particularly since both of us are from operations, I think we can relate. Both our operations professors had invited guest lecturers from various industries, and then we were asked to do an assignment on what we heard in those particular guest lectures. Prepare this concept note on certain products of Marico, and each of us had a different thought process. And this I thought was a very unique approach. And then a few weeks later, something similar happened where we get constantly to interact with bureaucrats, industry leaders, and it's not just about sitting in a session and listening to them. They are immediately asked to pen down, or for lack of a better word, substantiate what we've learned and relate it to the actual core subjects that are inside our terms. So that is something I found unique and very useful in this program.
And so, as in your point of view, what are the unique teaching experiences that you have encountered in the Lucknow program?
So here, first of all, the professors are world class because I mean, me having even studied abroad as well. I think I did my undergrad in India, but then my master's was in US. But I think the level of the professors are way higher than I had expected it to be. And now I actually feel the what comes with the brand tag of IIM. So they are top notch in explaining the concepts, in making sure, and they bring in some of the practical aspects. So I think in a lot of our undergrad and grad education, what we did in technical background, the industry connect was a little lower, like Madhushankar highlighted aptly. So there's a lot of industry connect. So we also have, apart from just the teaching perspective, we have connects with alumni and some leadership outside of the organization too. So where we are able to understand what is happening in the real world and how our concepts are more relatable to what's happening out there. So that's where we can really make that connect and that kind of really builds our confidence too, that we are ready for the future. Otherwise, a lot of times we are in that silos where we are learning all this hardcore education, but we don't know how to apply those. As simple as we had one of the heads from I would say market managing directors from a leading brand, and he told how he uses like 4 Ps of marketing and how he uses it so well and so much in his day-to-day work. So that kind of re-emphasized how important is everything that we read and learn in class.
So, in one word, if you had to, summarize your experience of term one or getting to the IIM Lucknow IPMX program, how would you put it? Madhushankar, what about you?
It's a journey, because it has been quite a journey. We were navigating through a lot of things.
Just one word for the IPMX program.
One, I would definitely say intense, but one is learning. So I would say learning has been phenomenal. I think both of us can agree on that. Though we've been in industry for like say almost 10 years, still there is like so much to running an organization which which our eyes open to. So that is what I felt like, the learning has been phenomenal this past 2.5, 3 months.
Your experience for the IPMX program.
You said something about leadership roles. I mean, both of us did do a little bit on our own. I think Suhas did a lot more than I did anyway. I took on the role of a course coordinator for one of the programs. So I had to organize with the profs, sometimes reschedule classes, then introduce guest lecturers, make arrangements for them. If people were unwell or unable to take quizzes, I had to get special permissions for them to reschedule. So small administrative things, I would say. Suhas was part of our initiation program, where he choreographed a huge dance number for the entire batch. So we have had our opportunities outside the pure academics as well.
Great.
Yeah, we do have a fair bit of fun as well. Like say, for example, all the way from like, the cricket games and something that we all get together and watch and celebrate to cultural events and initiation programs where, we had an opportunity to dance and like perform and we got to know the other side of every person in the cohort. Pretty much everybody is so talented. We have Guinness World Record holders in the batch. We have people who have worked with president, PMO's office. It's phenomenal. I mean, every individual is so unique and different, and they bring so much into the discussion in the class. I think that is what makes it amazing.
So as I understood it, there are structured leadership opportunities like the positions of responsibility or the clubs and the leadership of those clubs. Plus, you can also go up and take up your own leadership initiatives. You can become part of some initiatives. So these are both the options which are available to you.
Absolutely.
Yes, on a weekly basis, I conduct dance lessons. So in the evening, I teach dance to like, my fellow cohort people as well. And likewise, many people do multiple activities as such, though they are not like, say, leading a club per se. But if you are interested, the field is wide open.
There's a bunch of us who are from the BFSI industry, and I mean, right now, as I think today they formalized the finance club, but I've been helping people who are not from a finance background understand some of the nuances of finance.
And very interestingly, Madhushankar, you were a part of, helping out in the class and the course coordination. So if anybody wants to, take up something like this, how do they really go about it?
No, actually, it's an elected position. So at the beginning of the term, people nominate themselves, and we are both in different sections. So there's two sections. So the section votes for who's going to be the course
They want to
coordinator.
choose.
So for each subject, you get a course coordinator, and it is our responsibility for that particular subject for the entire term to make sure that the entire cohort is comfortable. Whether it's quizzes, whether it's the end term exams, whether all study material has been provided, whether the guest lecturers are being taken care of, understanding what sort of question paper pattern is going to come, because sometimes we do get curveballs, and that also had to be addressed.
And so, every campus has a vibe. You have a cohort that you are working day in, day out in terms of your class activities and out of class activities. So, what are the campus vibes like at IIM Lucknow IPMX? What would be your take on, just the campus environment and how you feel about staying there?
So IIM Lucknow for IPMX program is a separate, as we all know, it's in Noida. So it's a satellite campus of IIM Lucknow for executive education. I think the whole point of them having it here is having it closer to the industry here in Noida and Gurgaon. Uh, However, having said that, so they have a couple of programs here: PGPSM, PGPWE, and IPMX. So IPMX is their flagship program. So it's a relatively smaller campus, and pretty much we have close to 250 to 300 people on campus. And it's a pretty close-knit campus, I must say, because it's like not a lot of people. So you tend at some point in time you'll have either at lunch, breakfast, or dinner table you tend to interact with newer people. So you get to know a lot more people, I would say. So that's and you can network. I think that's one of the biggest things coming into this MBA program about building your network and knowing so many more people and knowing their background. So I think because it's a lot more close knit, I would say, and the campus vibes is little more relaxed and chilled outside of the coursework, but it's a pretty close knit community, I would say.
Campus life for me, I think, and I think for most here is actually, I would say, cozy, because I don't see people leaving and going out too much even during their free time. So I think people really enjoy just staying back. The rooms are quite adequate. I think that's the best word. You can get your own space, you can study, and then pretty much everything you need is on campus. We have a few big fields where we go to do yoga in the morning, and then people play sports. Uh, we have indoor and outdoor activities. We have a huge auditorium, and then the classrooms and libraries are also well equipped. So we really don't see too much reason to go out, which indicates that the campus itself is very welcoming and homely. So most people are really enjoying staying there. So that I think is the first thing that I feel.
Great. And if you had to, walk somebody through a day in your life at IIM Lucknow IPMX, what would you have to share with him?
Go to the classroom refreshed, be prepared for something, try to get an idea before you walk in, because IPMX is all about people with experience. So they don't expect us to be unaware of anything. The expectation levels are quite high. So be at least slightly prepared, and then just enjoy the ride, because it won't be anything you expect, but it will be a lot more than what you think it will.
And you know what, in terms of people who are planning to take up the MBA programs, would there be any suggestions now that you have been into the program? Would you, tell them some things that they should prepare for before they enter any MBA program, especially the IIM Lucknow, the IPMX program? Things to prepare for before your program starts at IIM Lucknow.
So I would say, from my perspective, there's a not a lot of prerequisites per se. So I think one is, of course, getting prepped for your GMAT and everything. I think that already brings you up to speed with the academic rigor, I must say. A couple of things: you have to manage your time really well. I think that is one quality that you have to bring with you. um, and also it is a little intense, but one thing is everybody's going through it, so it's not you, it's not just, you're not just alone in it. Everybody is pretty much coming from work, so everything happens on an autopilot mode once you are here. So and one important thing which I felt I should have done a lot more was maybe read a lot of newspaper, read a lot of things that are happening in India, around the world, because there'll be a lot of contextual things that are brought into class. So if you are already aware of such things, such happening current affairs, I think that'll be very helpful for any individual. I would say that is one thing which I could have done better personally. So I would advise that for upcoming students.
And Madhushankar, what would be your advice for students?
Just to add to what Suhas said, this is quite an intense program, because it's you barely get any time. So some people would have certain ambitions, like as to where they want to see themselves post MBA, and they might be planning for certain online courses or certifications to reach that point. So if they are planning to do that during the MBA, then they're going to have a very hard time, because there will be barely any time. So for such things, either do it before you join the program or find time after it, because during the program itself, it is going to be very difficult. Because this is something I have experienced personally, and I'm seeing a lot of others go through as well.
So if you want to take up any additional coursework or any additional upgradation on your skills part, you should do it before you join the program. You will not get time once you enter the IIM Lucknow, the IPMX program, especially.
At least for the first two terms, because like 8 subjects and 9 subjects will definitely keep you way more busy than you would expect. First two terms maybe not as much, but I think the third term 3 and term 4 are relatively like 3 or 4 subjects at the max, and that's when you will get a chance. But if that is something that you would want to take into your placement process, then we would recommend to have it done before you coming here. So
So would you like to discuss about how the placement process, starts or is structured?
there is actually a placement committee that is elected. So that goes through a couple of levels of interviews to get elected, and the committee is formed, and then they pretty much handle the entire placement process into prepping, helping the cohort get up to pace, and then of course bringing in the companies that are needed, and there is a placement week that happens towards, I would say, I think sometime in October, if I'm not wrong. And that is when everybody's prepared until then with their resumes, with their interview prep, everything, and be ready when the companies are there. Of course, I think we are yet to hear a lot more information on which companies are coming, when are they coming. So those details are not there yet. I think they are working on those as we speak. But yeah, I think we at this point we are all prepping with our resume and prepping for some maybe interviews at this point.
It's already started. You're already into the groove for your placements as well as your resume and your interviews.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
would say
also
yes.
aided by an organization called Go Crack It. They have tie-ups with IIMs all across India. So within that organization, we're all assigned mentors who are already in the industry and past IIM alumni. So they also help us understand what sort of roles we are likely to get based on our profiles, because our mentors are also assigned based on our profiles, and they're most likely people with similar profiles. So then they help us curate our resumes a little bit, and then tell us what to expect in terms of placements.
And what about the case competitions? When do they start, and how do you really feel, the environment in terms of the case competitions and the participation, what type of effort it takes, and your thoughts on the case competitions at IIM Lucknow IPMX?
Case
So
competition,
term one,
if case competition is something that we do on our own mostly, it's completely student driven. We need to be abreast of what case competitions are available at this time. Certain websites like Unstop, which advertise for most of the IIMs and B schools within India. We form our own small little groups, and then we register, and then we go through the process. And then once we reach a certain level, then we can seek maybe additional permission from the institution to travel and participate in the latter levels of these case competitions. But this is completely student driven. If we do approach our professors and ask a few inputs, they will not outright give us everything they know, but they do point us in the right direction, because that has happened in a few cases.
And have you participated in any yet?
I've only been able to reach around 3 of both, so beyond that I couldn't.
Okay, great. And so, Has, what is your take on the case competitions?
so yeah, so we like Madhu said, so we form our own groups and people try to attempt in the first term. I think second term is very heavy on a lot of competitions that many IIMs, many institutes offer. So actually this time, so people kind of fine tune, they try to find their group of people or the team, I would say. And then for the second term, they try to prepare on their own, and they kind of discuss with different groups and prepare. So usually the first rounds are generally online, like say with Unstop and others, where we have some sort of submission that we have to do up front as a team. And then the further rounds are in-person presentation or in-person discussion, whatever happens at that point, based on different competitions. So there are a lot lined up for this term, and that is something we know that there are 9 subjects, and on top of it, I think that actually adds up to your I would say learnings of the entire course. So we learned so many things, and then already another like one of our cohort folks have already won at one of the competition very recently held in New Delhi amongst like 600 teams. So they kind of inspired a lot of us. They shared their experience with us, they motivated a lot of us to take part in those as well. So this term is going to be a lot more busier, apart from the academics too, in terms of the case competitions.
And it's interesting, no? You've you come for that rigor itself.
This is the best part of it. So this is not by force. So we are here by choice, and we enjoy it. So I think that is what makes it. Even though there's a lot of this rigor, everything. I think nobody's at the end of the day sulking. At the end of the day, it is for their own development. When they see the bigger picture, they would, because every alumni that we have spoken to who have been here, they all say at the end of the day, all the dots connect. We all think like, okay, what is this? What is this got to do? What is this here? Because we're learning so many things. And then at the end of the day, even though whatever sector you go into, whatever function you go into, at some point in time, you'll pretty much connect all the dots. Pretty much every course will be touched at some point in time.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the time today.
One common thing that we hear with every alumnus who visits here, or every industry leader, is, because these are all people who have done MBAs at some level, and they all say, don't run behind marks. Marks really don't really matter. This everyone says. Try to gain more from other avenues, like you mentioned, case competitions, maybe present papers, do volunteer work at events, maybe train people in what you're strong at. These things will help you even gain placement, and maybe even help you further in your career than sitting and topping an exam. And this is an advice that has been common across people who are running the startups, and people who are bureaucrats, and people who are industry vice presidents. So this is something I think you can tell any individual who's preparing for a 1-year executive MBA.
And so, has any an anecdote or story that you would like to share about the program?
I would say one of my biggest learning experience was we had a bureaucrat. We had like an IAS topper. He in our class, he was mentioning, he was sharing his experience, though like many people brought him down. When you're like true, when you stick to your process, when you know you're doing the right thing with the right intent, you can affect so many people. So that is something where, you know, we try to lose the bigger picture, but then when we all realize, like, you know, the impact that you would have on the society, I think that was I mean, I'm sure Madhu would resonate on this thought. I think he literally not having slept all night because of flight delays and whatnot, he was so enthusiastic. He did a 1.5 hour lecture in our class, in his class, and then he had to go to another institute as well. And then we saw his passion for it. And I think that passion is what you need to develop. So that is something which was phenomenal. I mean, I'm so grateful. I think if not for this program, I don't think there would have been a chance of meeting that person. So I'm very thankful for that. And in addition, another thing, what I would also recommend for the potential, I would say, candidates are, uh, so it's okay to have already a preconceived aim, or whatever, where you want to go in the industry, but a lot of times, if even if you are unsure, it's okay. And because a lot many people in the cohort are in the same boat as well, it's okay to be an open book, open, I would say, open to choosing different avenues. And in the due course, you'll know what you like a lot more, and you'll know what you're good at. And then at some point you will get into that industry, even though you start off with a different industry or a function than you're liking. I think at some point, that is also something that we have learned. A lot of the people have started off in a different function and industry after their MBA program, and eventually they, because of the skill sets that they've gained through MBA and through their past and future experience, they can get to the industry and role of their choice even at a later point. So that is something that I learned as well.
And I think it's all about, becoming very comfortable with uncertainty and handling your own career path within that uncertainty. You need to be very okay that, okay, we'll see what comes, and then we'll take a call at it. Plus, follow your passion, of course. And thank you, Madhu, for taking out the time today. We've really got insights into, what goes behind the brochure of the IIM Lucknow program.
For you to get in.